Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make these beautiful mesh pants that you have just seen at the beginning of the video. These pants are part of a set of 4, which includes a bikini top, a bikini bottom, and the mesh top as well as the mesh pants. So in our upcoming videos, I'll be teaching you how to make the whole set, and we shall start with the pants today. They can be used as beach cover-ups or a bikini cover-up, perfect for summer. And yeah, they are of the mesh stitch. And for today's materials, I am using Robin. It's 100% acrylic. And I chose this yarn because I did a little swatch and I was pleased with the outcome. But if you choose to use cotton yarn, that's perfectly fine. For me, I am using a single strand of acrylic yarn, and this yarn is really thin, so it will give me a very lightweight look. And then I also used a pair of scissors, a darning needle, a 3.5mm crochet hook, and a measuring tape. The measurement that we are going to consider for this project is the hip circumference, because at the end of the day, the pants have to fit through the hips in order to be functional. So the hip circumference, and then you're also going to measure from your waistline to your crotch, and then you also measure from your waistline to where you want your pants to stop. It can be up to the feet, or it can be a pair of shorts. That's really up to you. So for me, I am going to show you the general construction of the pants, and then you decide for yourself whether you want to make a pair of shorts or pants like mine. So if you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops, and I'll be leaving a link on the screen as well as the description box. And then for this yarn, I used approximately 2.5 balls. So each ball of this is 50 grams and 300 yards. So you can just substitute the amounts and choose any yarn of your choice or any yarn that's available to you. And let's get started. All right, so my center pull wasn't that successful. I'm going to try again from this one. I've also gotten a big batch. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but yeah, it's a total struggle. I'm going to just cut this and then I'll get back to this later on. But for now, this is what I have. You're going to get your 3.5mm crochet hook, and we're going to make a chain. Our foundation chain should be able to go around our hips when slightly stretched. You don't want a very tightly fitted pair of pants unless that's the look that you're going for. So you're going to consider a chain that is not so stretched out. So you're going to start off with a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain that can wrap around your hips when slightly stretched. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And another thing that I forgot to mention is make sure your chains are not very tight. That's because we are going to go and work into them for round 1. So make sure your chain is not very tight. So if I am to measure this without stretching, it's giving me 30 inches. But when I stretch, it goes all the way to 40, even beyond. Make sure you get to your hip circumference. For me, the hip circumference that I am considering is 40 inches when slightly stretched. So when you overstretch your chain, it should go beyond your hip circumference. So you're going to make sure that your chain is not twisted. I'm just making sure that the braid is facing up at all times. And I am going to make a slip stitch into the very first chain that I made. Just make a slip stitch in that very first chain. And that way we have created a round. And at this point, you're going to try it on. Make sure it's going through your hips comfortably well before you start on your mesh pattern. Otherwise, you're going to keep unraveling your work and doing double work. So we're going on to round 1, and this we're jumping into the mesh pattern right away. So you're going to make a chain of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this counts as a double crochet, chain 5. You're going to skip over 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th, you're going to place a double crochet. So this pattern is explained in the US terms. So this is what you're going to have, and then you're going to make a chain of 5, skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and double crochet into the 4th. So you yarn over, skip your 3 chains, insert your hook, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's the double crochet in the US terms. So chain 5, yarn over, skip 3 chains, insert your hook into the 4th, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So you're going to repeat this all the way around. Chain 5, skip 3 chains, and double crochet into the 4th chain. You're going to repeat this until you have 3 chains left on your round. Alright guys, we're coming to the end of round 1, and we have 3 chains left, and this is how our round 1 looks like. So you're going to make a chain of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and skip over the last 3 chains and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 8. So counting from the base, you're going to count 1, 2, and into the 3rd, you're going to insert your hook, pull through all. And this is how we wind up round 1. So we're going on to round 2. You're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work. Slip stitch twice into the very first chain 5 space. 1, 2, actually 3 times, so that we can get to the middle of the chain 5 space, and then make a chain of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and that counts as a double crochet, chain 5, and you're going to double crochet into the next chain 5 space. We're just going into the spaces this time round, and this is the round that we're going to keep repeating until we get to our crotch. So you're going to make a chain of 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space, chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space. So you can see how easy the pattern gets after round 1. You can do it while watching a movie or get some sort of distraction, and you'll see that this project builds up really fast. So chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space. That's all you have to do for round 2. And when you get towards the end of round 2, I'll show you what to do next. So we're coming to the end of round 2. As you can see, we're making a chain of 5 and double crocheting into the last chain 5 space of the round, of the previous round, and then you're going to make a chain of 5 and slip stitch into the third chain of the first chain 8, counting from the base. So 1, 2, and into the third chain you're going to insert your hook and pull through all. So this is what you have for round 2, and this is the round that we are going to keep repeating again and again. So you make a chain of 1 and turn your work, slip stitch 3 times into the very first chain 5 space, and then make a chain of 8, which counts as a double crochet, chain 5, and then double crochet into the next chain 5 space, chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space. So you're just going to repeat round 2 again and again until you get to your crochet level. I'm going to build mine and I'll let you know how many rounds that I ended up doing, and I'll also be recommending a number of rounds to do for the different sizes in my next clip. Alright guys, so I ended up doing a total of 12 rounds, and this measures about 7 inches without stretching, as you can see here. So I'll be recommending a number of rounds to make for the different sizes, but mine is about 7 inches. And at this point I'm going to split the legs, and then you should also make sure that this length is not so long, because we are considering a piece that's perfectly fitted, not so high-waisted. And now after round 12 or whatever number of rounds that you've made for your size, you are going to get 1 stitch marker and place it in this chain 5 space right below, before the slip stitch of the last round. You're going to place it here, and then you're going to count the number of chain 5 spaces all the way around your last round of mesh. Mine is 42, and then you're going to subtract 2 to get a total of 40, and then divide that number by 2. So 40 divided by 2 is 20. So from this chain 5 space where I've placed a stitch marker, you're going to count 20 chain spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then into the next chain 5 space, you're going to place another stitch marker. So these are what we've marked right now. These are the chain 5 spaces that are going to get the chain that splits the leg holes. So apply the same knowledge for the different measurements or the different sizes of the pants. You just place a stitch marker here, count the number of chain 5 spaces, subtract 2 from them. For example, I have 42 minus 2, which is 40, and then divide that number by 2, which is 20, and then count that number away from the chain 5 space with a stitch marker. So I counted 20 chain 5 spaces and then marked the next chain 5 space. So now it's time for us to split the legs. You're going to turn your work just as we've been doing, but this time round we're going to split our legs. So we're going to slip stitch 3 times into the very first chain 5 space. So this is the chain 5 space with a stitch marker. Then you're going to make a chain of 24. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So I'll also be recommending a number of chains to make for the different sizes, but for this size I made a total of 24 chains. And then you're going to go into the chain 5 space on the opposite side, the one with the stitch marker, and then into the third chain of the chain 5 you're going to place a slip stitch. And just like that, we've split or separated the legs. We have 2 leg holes, this side and this side. And now we're going to start working our pattern the same exact way that we've been doing the upper body of the pants or the shorts. And to continue, you're going to make sure that you're working on the side that is facing the opposite direction of the previous round. So here we are. You're going to make a chain of 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this counts as a double crochet, chain 5, and then go into the next chain 5 space with a double crochet, just like that, and then chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space, chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space. So you're going to repeat this all the way around until you get back to the middle chain that we have here. We're almost getting to the middle chain, and I've just placed a double crochet in this chain 5 space. And then you're going to make a chain of 5, and then double crochet in the next chain 5 space where the middle chain is coming from. So that space with the stitch marker, you're going to make sure you go into it with a double crochet, and then you're going to make a chain of 5 and skip 3 chains, and into the 4th you're going to place a double crochet, chain 5, skip 3 chains and double crochet into the 4th. So we are now working along the middle chain, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th you're going to place a double crochet. You're going to repeat that all the way along the middle chain. All right, so you're going to keep working this until you have a few chains left, somewhere about like 3 chains or something. If you have 4 chains, that's okay. Just make a chain of 5 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 8 of the round. So this will mark the end of the first round on one of the sides, one of the leg holes. So now we are going to go back to the round, which is round 2 of the body of the shorts or the pants. So that's the pattern that we are going to keep repeating. You're going to turn your work and slip stitch 3 times in the very first chain 5 space, chain 8, which counts as a double crochet, chain 5, and then double crochet in the next chain 5 space. Chain 5, double crochet in the next chain 5 space, chain 5, double crochet in the next chain 5 space. So that's the repeat for this round all the way around. and I'll meet you back at the end of round 2 of the leg extension. So we've come to the end of round 2 of the leg extension. I'm making a chain of 5 and going into the last chain 5 space with a double crochet, and then making a chain of 5 and slip stitching into the 3rd chain of the first chain 8 of the round. And this is the round that we are going to keep repeating again and again until we have our desired pants length or shorts length if you decide to make a short. So I'm going to also demonstrate this side before I go any further, so that when you're done with this leg hole, these are the instructions that you're going to follow on the opposite side. I'm going to just demonstrate row 1, and then you can go ahead and do the same exact instructions for round 2 and all the way down until where you want your pants to stop. All right, so to work on your second leg hole, you're going to turn your work so that you're working on the leg hole that doesn't have any rounds. So you're going to make a slip stitch, and then you're going to attach your yarn. You're seeing where the chain, that middle chain where it gets off the previous rounds that we had made for the shorts, you're going to go into that point there. Or you can go into this one on this side, this point where the chain, the middle chain attaches onto the last round. For me, that is round 12. So I'm going to go into that point where the middle chain attaches onto the body of the shorts, and I'm putting it on this side because at this point I'll be working in the opposite direction of the previous round. So attach your yarn there, and then you can remove your stitch marker at this point, and then make a chain of 8, which counts as a double crochet chain 5, and then double crochet into the next chain 5 space, chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space. So let me just place a stitch marker here. This is the chain of 8, and it's the beginning of round 1 on the opposite leg hole. So chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space, and you're going to repeat that until you come back to the middle chain, and I'll show you what to do. All right, so we are almost coming to the middle chain, as you can see here. So I'm going to remove this stitch marker that I had placed originally to mark the chain 5 space where to attach the middle chain, and I'm going to make a chain of 5, and then double crochet at this point, the point that has 3 stitches, as if 1 2 3. I'm going to squeeze another stitch there, because this stitch is supposed to cater for this side of the leg hole. And then you're going to make a chain of 5. Now we're going to start working along the extension chain, actually the middle chain here. So once you make your chain of 5, you're going to go into the same exact chain that got a double crochet on the opposite side. So this time around you don't have to be very attentive, because the place where you're supposed to place your double crochet is already predetermined. So chain 5 and go into the stitch that has this double crochet on the opposite side. So go into that chain and place your double crochet. Chain 5 and double crochet into the next chain that has a double crochet on the opposite side. Continue to do this until you run out of stitches along the middle chain. Right, so this is supposed to be the last stitch along the chain, and then we have our chain of 8. So I'll make my chain of 5 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the first chain 8 of the round. Slip stitch there, and this is what we have. Now at this point you're going to basically just do your repeat round, which is round 2 of the leg extension. So you turn your work, making sure you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round, and you can remove the stitch marker at this point. You turn your work and slip stitch 3 times into the very first chain 5 space, chain 8, which counts as a double crochet, chain 5, and then go into the next chain 5 space with a double crochet, chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space, chain 5, double crochet into the next chain 5 space. So this is the repeat. You're going to go all the way around, and when you come to the end, after placing a double crochet here, you're going to make a chain of 5 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain at the beginning of the round, the 3rd chain of the first chain 8. So from there you'll just keep working until you get the length of the pants or the shorts that you want. So let me keep going and I'll show you how my work is growing once I get the length that I want for my design. Alright guys, for me I ended up doing a total of 50 rounds right after splitting the legs, but you can go ahead and make as many rounds as you wish depending on your height or the height of the person that you're making these pants for. So for me that is a total of 62 rounds, considering the 12 rounds that I had already made for the upper part of the pants. Alright, now that we are done with getting the length of the pants that we want, we're going to go ahead and create some cute scallops at the base of the pants. So I'm going to just attach my yarn in any chain 5 space and make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet, and into the same exact space we are going to go in there with a total of 4 double crochets. All right, so after your 4 double crochets, you're going to go into the next chain 5 space and place a single crochet, chain 3, and place 4 more double crochets, 1 2 3 and 4, and then single crochet into the next chain 5 space. So this is going to create that kind of edging that makes the piece look finished. Chain 3, 4 more double crochets into the same chain 5 space. Single crochet into the next chain 5 space. So go all the way around the base of the very first leg extension, and I'll meet you back towards the end of the round. And please don't think that I switched hooks. I'm still using a 3.5mm crochet hook, but I can't find the previous one that I was using before. So you can see we're still using a 3.5 here. I don't know if you can get it here. Alright guys, so I've made it all the way around, and I'm placing my very last scallop into the very last chain 5 space. I'm placing my last 4 double crochets into the last chain 5 space, and then I'm going to go into the very first chain 5 space where the first scallop is, and I'm going to place a slip stitch, make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn. So at this point we are done with the bottom edging of the very first leg extension. So you can see how the scallops have turned out to be, and you can see the difference between what we had before and how finished this looks. So I'm going to attach my yarn onto the second leg hole and do the same exact thing. You can see the difference between what we have here and what we have here. This looks much more finished, and it gives it a professional look as opposed to just leaving it like this in the mesh pattern. So I'm going to attach my yarn and do the same exact thing on this side so that we balance exactly what we have on the first side. So just attach your yarn in any chain 5 space, chain 3 and 4 double crochets into the same space. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then single crochet into the next chain 5 space. So exactly what you've done on the very first leg extension, do the same exact thing so that we have the same exact thing going on here. And then I'll meet you back when I'm done with the second side as well, and then we shall go on to our waistband. Alright guys, at the end of it all, this is what the base of the pants looks like. And now let's go on to, you can get rid of all these loose ends. And try your best to get rid of all the loose ends as you keep working the different parts of the pants. And then let's go onto the waistband of our pants so that they can fit perfectly around our waistline. Alright, so to work on the waistband of our piece, you're going to grab your yarn and make a slip knot, and you're going to attach it in any chain 3 space. Let's go into any chain 3 space and attach your yarn. Then you're going to make a chain of 3 and then double crochet 2 more times in the same space. Then make a chain of 1 and double crochet 3 times into the next chain 3 space. So that's the repeat for this round. Chain 1, double crochet 3 times into the next chain 3 space. So you're going to repeat this all the way around. Chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 3 space. Do that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. Alright, so I've made it all the way around, and I've placed 3 double crochets in the last chain 3 space. Now I'm going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. And you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. So this marks the end of the waistband. The waistband is going to look like this. And then you're going to get a double strand of the same exact color, and you're going to make a very long chain. So start off with a slip knot and make a very long chain to act as a drawstring for your pants or shorts. So for me, I'm going to make a chain of about 200 to 250 chains. This is just a simple chain. Make it as long as possible so that it can go through the waistband together and make it adjustable. So I have my chain of 250, and then I'm going to get my darning needle and thread it through the darning needle. And then I'm going to go in and out of, turn your pants to the front side along the middle line, and you're going to go in and out of every chain 1 space of the waistband that we just created. In and out of every chain 1 space, all the way around the waistband. Until you come back to the front of your piece. Alright, so you can remove your darning needle, and this is what we have. You can see you can adjust the waist of your piece to either be tight or loose depending on the fitting that you're going for. Now at this point you can go ahead and just make a knot. Make a knot at the front of your piece, just like this. And then you're going to go ahead and weave in all your tails, and your piece will be ready to wear. So let's see the final look of our piece. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.